All right, get ready to explore some serious eats, because today we're taking a deep dive into American cuisine.
Ooh, yeah.
We're talking about the most popular dishes from all 50 states,
Every single one.
based on audience votes from, who else? Joshua Weissman?
Culinary genius himself.
Now, he didn't just, pick recipes from a hat or something.
Oh, no.
Weissman and his team actually cooked and taste tested every single dish,
All fifth.
ranking them from S tier all the way down to F.
Using his, his tier system. He always does.
So we're talking more than just like a recipe roundup here.
Oh, much more.
This is like a cultural snapshot of what people consider the most iconic food from their state.
Exactly.
Which is fascinating, right?
Totally.
I mean, think about how diverse the food scene is in just your own city, let alone an entire state.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I'm super curious to see what Weissman uncovered.
Me too.
But first, how did he even decide what the most popular dish was for each state?
Well, he turned to the best source possible. His audience.
Oh.
They voted on what they considered the most representative dish from their state. So it's a real democratic perspective.
That's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
So remind me again, how does that ranking system work?
S tier is the top, the creme de la creme,
Right.
And then it goes down from there, A, B, C, all the way to F.
And F is 4.
For the dishes that maybe didn't quite hit the mark.
So there are dishes that got an F?
There are some interesting choices out there.
I have to know, were there any total culinary disasters?
I think it's important to remember, Weissman approached this as like a fun, subjective thing.
Right.
Not, a definitive guide to American cuisine.
Which makes sense. Taste is so personal.
Oh, yeah.
What one person loves, another might, totally hate.
Absolutely. And Weissman actually acknowledges that in the video.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He and his team tried to be objective, but personal preferences definitely come into play.
That makes sense. Which brings us to a dish that I have heard sparked quite a bit of debate online. Cincinnati Chile from Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
What is it about this dish that's so controversial?
Well, picture this. Chili served over spaghetti,
Okay.
topped with raw onions and a mountain of cheddar cheese.
Whoa.
Not your traditional chili.
Definitely not what I was picturing.
And Weissman, he didn't hold back on his opinions.
I bet he didn't.
He described the aroma as, and I quote, a white suburban mother's idea of charcuterie pork.
Okay, wow.
That's quite the image.
It is.
I could see why that would be a divisive dish.
So it got an F.
It did.
Interesting.
But it's interesting to think about why.
Yeah, why?
Beyond just personal taste preferences.
Right.
It kind of challenges our idea of what chili should be.
I guess so.
And it opens up a whole conversation about regional variations and how food traditions can be so different across the country.
That's what I love about this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's making me think about food in a whole new way.
In what way?
It's not just about what tastes good.
Oh, yeah. It's about the stories behind the dishes, the cultural influences, the regional differences that make American cuisine so unique.
I completely agree.
And it's fascinating to see how those differences play out in Weissman's rankings.
Oh, totally.
Like Utah's funeral potatoes.
What?
It's a cheesy potato casserole.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
And it got a D.
Really?
It wasn't bad, but it didn't quite live up to the hype, apparently.
A D for funeral potatoes.
Maybe the name set expectations too high.
Maybe.
So we've seen some low scores,
Yeah.
but there have to be some winners in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Any culinary triumphs that surprised you?
Okay, this one is a true underdog story.
I love those.
The Oklahoma fried onion burger snagged a coveted S-tier ranking.
Smash onions on a burger? An S-tier dish.
You heard that right.
That sounds so simple,
It is.
but delicious.
Oh, it is.
What made it so special?
Weissman was blown away by how those onions caramelized on the flat top, creating this, incredible depth of flavor.
And it all just, melded perfectly with the beef patty.
It's proof that you don't need fancy ingredients or complicated techniques to make something truly exceptional.
I think so.
Speaking of defying expectations,
Yeah.
there's another S-tier winner that I'm still wrapping my head around.
Which one?
Arkansas biscuits with chocolate gravy.
Oh, that one.
Chocolate gravy.
Oh.
My initial reaction was pure skepticism.
It does sound a bit unconventional.
A bit.
But apparently the combination of those fluffy biscuits and that rich chocolate gravy is like a match made in heaven.
Really?
Even Weissman, who was initially cautious, declared it amazing and admitted to devouring an entire serving.
Okay, you've got me intrigued.
Right.
It just goes to show that you can't judge a dish by its name or its seemingly strange combination of ingredients.
It really speaks to the power of, like, exploring new flavors
Yeah,
and challenging our preconceived notions about food.
I like.
And as we continue on this culinary road trip through the States, I'm sure we'll encounter even more surprises and thought-provoking dishes.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah?
But before we move on,
Okay.
let's zoom out a bit and talk about some broader regional trends that emerged from this taste test.
Okay.
Did you notice any patterns in terms of what types of dishes were popular in different parts of the country?
Definitely.
Like what?
The Midwest, for example.
Okay.
They seem to have a deep love for hearty casseroles and meat-centric dishes,
Makes sense.
like tater tot hot dish,
Oh, yeah.
Iowa chops, that giant Indiana pork tenderloin sandwich.
I've heard about that one.
Yeah, Weissman described it as comically large.
It makes sense, though, right?
Yeah.
The Midwest has a strong agricultural heritage,
For sure.
so it's natural that their cuisine would reflect that abundance of meat and produce.
Totally.
What about the South? I'm picturing lots of comfort food and barbecue.
You're right on the money.
Yeah.
Pulled pork, fried catfish, shrimp and grits. The South knows comfort food.
And barbecue.
And barbecue, of course.
With all those regional sauces.
Oh, yeah. Each with their own unique twist.
But it's not just about the food itself.
No.
It's about the traditions and the sense of community
Oh, sure.
that surrounds Southern cooking.
Absolutely.
So we've got the hearty fare of the Midwest,
Uh-huh.
the comforting soul food of the South.
Yes.
What about the Northeast?
The Northeast showed a strong affinity for seafood and classic American dishes,
Interesting.
like lobster rolls, clam chowder, those iconic Philly cheesesteaks.
I could go for a cheesesteak right now.
It's a real blend of coastal delights and urban staples.
And of course, no discussion of Northeastern cuisine would be complete without mentioning the great New York pizza debate,
Oh, of course.
which even for an appearance in Weissman's video.
It did. It did.
Speaking of the New York pizza debate,
Yeah.
it brings up another important point.
What's that?
Even within a specific dish, there's so much variation and personal preference.
So true.
What one person considers an S-tier pizza could be a C-tier for another.
Totally. Like, remember the Wisconsin fried cheese curds?
Oh, yeah.
They achieved S-tier status,
Mm-hmm.
but Weissman and one of his team members actually likened them to, like, glorified mozzarella sticks.
Really?
Yeah, and they gave them lower rankings.
It's a great reminder that taste is subjective.
It is.
And what makes a dish good is ultimately up to the individual.
Absolutely.
But even with those differing opinions,
Yeah.
it's fascinating to see how certain dishes capture the culinary spirit of a region.
It is.
So we've covered some standout examples,
Uh-huh.
regional trends,
Yes.
the ever-present subjectivity of taste.
Right?
What can our listeners expect as we continue our culinary road trip?
Well, buckle up because things are about to get even more exciting.
Okay, I'm Bug.
We're about to enter the S-tier showdown,
The what?
where Weissman and his team pit the best of the best against each other to determine the ultimate champion.
Oh, wow.
And the winner is a bit of a dark horse, a simple dish executed to perfection.
Now you've got me on the edge of my seat. Who emerged victorious from this epic battle of flavors?
Drum roll, please. It was the Oklahoma fried onion burger.
The underdog takes the crown.
I know, right?
I love it.
It really shows that sometimes the most unassuming dishes can be the most delicious.
But I'm dying to know which other dishes made it to the S-tier showdown.
Oh, we had some heavy hitters vying for the top spot.
Like what?
Maryland crab cakes, Louisiana gumbo, Georgia lemon pepper wet wings, all dishes that earned high praise from Weissman and his team.
I can't wait to hear more about them.
We'll dive into each of them and what made them stand out.
Awesome.
And we'll also sprinkle in some of those memorable quotes and observations from Weissman, like his hilarious description of the Indiana pork tenderloin sandwich as comically large.
It's going to be a delicious ride.
It is.
All right, let's get into those S-tier contenders.
Yes,
We know that Oklahoma fried onion burger took the crown,
it did.
but I'm so eager to hear more about the dishes that it beat out.
Okay.
Let's start with a classic, Maryland crab cakes.
Oh, classic.
What makes a crab cake worthy of the S tier?
It's all about letting that crab, sing.
Okay.
And that means using jumbo lump crab meat, minimal filler.
Ah, I see.
Weissman really emphasized that.
Did he?
Yeah, he said something like, there's a whole crab in that cake.
Haha, I love that.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the quality of the crab, it's
Oh,
the technique too.
absolutely.
How so?
Weissman talked about gently forming those crab cakes,
No.
not packing them too tightly.
I
You
see.
want a light, delicate patty,
Right?
so it showcases the sweet flavor of the crab.
I'm starting to see why those crab cakes scored so high.
Yeah.
Simple, but like there's a real art to it.
There is.
Now let's move on to something a little heartier.
Right.
Tell me about the Louisiana Gumbo
Ah, gumbo.
and what landed it in the S tier.
It's a true taste of Louisiana.
It is.
Weissman's version was this beautiful blend of land and sea,
Oh, interesting.
a rich roux, tender chicken, savory sausage, and shrimp.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
He called it the daddy of all soups and stews,
Aha, what?
and praised its depth of flavor.
Speaking of that roux,
Yeah,
can you tell me a little more about it?
sure.
I know it's like a key component of gumbo,
It is.
but I've never quite understood what it is exactly.
It's essentially a cooked mixture of fat and flour,
Okay.
and it's the foundation for many Cajun and Creole dishes.
Ah,
And in gumbo, it adds this velvety texture and a deep nutty flavor that brings all the ingredients together.
so it's not just a thickener, it's a flavor powerhouse too.
It is.
I did hear that Weissman's gumbo sparked a little debate.
Oh, yeah.
Is it true that mixing land and sea is controversial in the gumbo world?
Some purists believe that gumbo should either be seafood or meat-based,
Oh, interesting.
not both.
Okay.
But Weissman pointed out that plenty of Cajun cooks embrace the combination.
So there's room for both interpretations.
It seemed like it.
I love how this deep dive is opening up these conversations about food traditions. It's a reminder that there's always more to learn.
Yeah.
Even something as straightforward as gumbo has this fascinating history and layers of cultural nuance.
Absolutely.
Okay, ready for our next S-tier contender.
Yummy.
All right, let's talk about those Georgia lemon pepper wet wings.
Oh, yes.
What made them stand out from the flock?
Those wings had a serious flavor punch thanks to Weissman's homemade lemon pepper wet sauce.
Ooh, homemade sauce.
It's this tangy, buttery concoction that he absolutely raved about.
What did he say?
He called them the ultimate wing.
I'm a sucker for a good wing.
Me too.
So that description is definitely speaking to me.
Yeah.
But what sets the sauce apart from, other lemon pepper wings out there?
It's the balance of those flavors.
Okay.
That bright lemon, the black pepper, all melded together with that creamy butter.
Sounds delicious.
And the wings themselves, of course, have to be crispy.
To let the sauce shine.
Exactly.
So another example of a simple dish elevated by high-quality ingredients and careful technique?
It seems to be a recurring theme
It does.
among these S-tier winners.
Oh, sure.
Now, for our last S-tier contender before we revisit the champion, the Illinois Italian beef sandwich.
This one has quite a reputation, especially in Chicago.
It does.
What's the secret behind its legendary status?
It's all about that juicy, thinly sliced roast beef,
Okay.
piled high on a crusty Italian roll,
Sounds good already.
and absolutely drenched in savory au juice.
Oh, man.
The kind of sandwich where you need extra napkins.
But it's worth it.
Totally worth it.
It sounds like a messy, delicious masterpiece.
It is.
What did Weissman have to say about it?
He was impressed, called it one of the most well-balanced sandwiches he'd ever had,
Wow.
and gave it a perfect 10.
Wow.
Interestingly, some of his team members gave it slightly lower scores.
Really?
Yeah, proving once again that taste is subjective.
I guess even among food experts, there can be differing opinions.
There can be.
So we've covered those 4 incredible S-tier contenders. The Maryland crab cakes, Louisiana gumbo, Georgia lemon pepper wet wings, and the Illinois Italian beef sandwich.
All amazing.
Before we circle back to the champion, though,
Yeah,
I think it's worth acknowledging some of the other dishes that landed in different tiers.
I agree.
Even the dishes that didn't reach S tier still offer a glimpse into the diverse world of American food culture.
They do?
Take the Hawaiian Spam musubi, for example.
Wow.
It's a beloved comfort food in Hawaii,
It is.
and it almost scored a perfect A.
Wow.
It shows how certain dishes can be so ingrained in the culinary identity of a place,
Right.
even if they might seem unusual to outsiders.
I agree.
And then on the flip side,
Yeah.
we have dishes like Utah's funeral potatoes,
Oh, yeah?
which, while not an S-tier winner, still sparked a lot of curiosity and conversation
It is.
about these regional food traditions.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about the highest rankings.
Right.
It's about appreciating the stories behind each dish
Yeah.
and how they reflect the diverse culinary landscape of America.
Exactly.
This deep dive isn't about declaring one dish or region's cuisine as superior.
No, not at all.
It's about celebrating that variety and creativity that exists within American cooking
I agree.
and encouraging people to explore and appreciate those differences.
Exactly.
So we've journeyed through the highs and lows,
We have.
explored regional trends,
Yes.
acknowledged the subjective nature of taste,
Right.
but now let's return to that champion, the Oklahoma fried onion burger.
The champion.
Remind us why this seemingly humble dish took home the gold.
Weissman and his team could not get enough of those caramelized onions.
Those onions.
The perfectly smashed patty, the melty cheese,
Ugh, so good.
all those simple elements, creating a symphony of flavor.
A symphony of flavor.
It was a reminder that sometimes the most satisfying dishes are the ones that focus on doing a few things really well,
There's something beautiful about that.
isn't there?
It's not about being fancy or complicated.
No,
It's about embracing simplicity and executing it with passion and precision.
couldn't have said it better myself.
And I think that's a valuable lesson for any cook,
Oh, absolutely.
whether you're a seasoned chef or just starting out in the kitchen.
It is.
So while the Oklahoma fried onion burger emerged as the champion,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that each dish in this taste test tells a story about American food culture.
It does.
From those F-tier contenders
Yeah.
that challenged our expectations
Right?
to those S-tier winners that redefine classic dishes.
Absolutely.
They all contribute to this tapestry of flavors and traditions
They do.
that make American cuisine so special.
So special.
So as we wrap up this leg of our culinary journey,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your final thoughts.
All right.
What's the biggest takeaway you're leaving with from this deep dive?
I think what struck me most was the reminder that American food is constantly evolving.
How so?
It's a fusion of different influences and traditions,
Right.
and it's constantly being shaped by new generations of cooks and eaters.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to see American cuisine as this mix of, like, old and new.
It is.
And speaking of new,
Yeah.
that Arkansas biscuits with chocolate gravy combo is still on my mind.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It really challenges what you think goes together, you know?
It does.
But that's the beauty of food, right?
Totally.
It's all about exploring and discovering.
Exactly.
Who knows, maybe chocolate gravy is the next big thing.
Maybe. Yeah.
But beyond the specific dishes, I was really struck by the regional pride
Oh, yeah.
that came through in Weissman's taste test.
Absolutely.
It didn't matter if it was those Midwestern casseroles or the Southern comfort food or the fresh seafood from the Northeast.
Right.
Each region had its own, like, culinary personality.
It makes you realize that food is so much more than just fuel, you know?
It really is.
It's tied to history and culture and a sense of place.
And it can even spark some friendly competition,
It can.
like the New York pizza debate.
Oh, for sure.
So we should celebrate that regional pride
It should-
because it makes American cuisine so diverse and interesting.
But I think this deep dive also highlighted some, like, universal truths about food.
Like what?
Well, the power of simple ingredients, thoughtfully prepared.
Right.
Think about that Oklahoma fried onion burger.
Yeah.
It wasn't fancy, but those onions and that patty were just perfect.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the simplest meals are the most satisfying.
They really are.
And then, you know, on the other hand,
Uh-huh.
we saw how even those strange combinations can work.
Yeah.
Like those biscuits and chocolate gravy, and the
Listen.
flavors just click.
They have to be in harmony.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired to, like, explore,
Yes.
what advice would you give them?
I'd say be curious,
Okay.
be open-minded,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to, like, step outside your comfort zone.
I love that.
Try that new restaurant,
Uh-huh.
pick up a cookbook from a different culture,
Right.
or even just, like, try a new ingredient at the store.
Food is an adventure,
It is.
and there's a whole world out there.
And the most important ingredient,
What's that?
passion.
Passion.
Whether you're a pro or just starting out,
Okay.
cooking with love makes all the difference.
Well said. So well said.
As we wrap up this journey through the 50 states,
Yeah.
we leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
What dish best represents your state? What flavors or ingredients, capture the essence of where you're from?
I like that.
We encourage you to explore and experiment and share your own stories.
Because in the end, food is about so much more than just what's on our plates.
It's about connection and community and the joy of sharing a meal.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the most popular dishes from each state.
Until next time.
Happy eating, everyone!